What up guys, Gozen here for Anime Uproar, and today we are going to be looking at one of the most notorious dubs in the history of anime. Yo! If you're too young or just weren't watching anime a decade ago, you've probably never seen the One Piece 4Kids dub, which first aired on June 4th in 2004. 4Kids was a production company that once upon a time acquired the licenses for many popular anime, including One Piece, Pokemon, Shaman King, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and more. The company is infamous for producing what many have called some of the worst dubs of all time. Fast forward to today, and 4Kids Entertainment is still around, but it's a shell of the company it used to be. 4Kids either lost or were forced to sell all of their anime licenses to other companies like Funimation, and in 2012 they changed their name to 4 Licensing Corporation. One Piece in particular is considered to be one of the worst dubs in 4Kids history. Even employees who have defended 4Kids have mentioned how One Piece is an extreme case that tarred the reputation of the company. So, what did 4Kids do to One Piece that brought them so much undying hate from the anime community? Today, we will try to get to the bottom of this question by looking at 10 ways 4Kids changed One Piece. Before we go on, there will be some One Piece spoilers. 4Kids made 104 English episodes in all based on the first 143 Japanese episodes, which approximately covers everything up to the beginning of the Sky Island arc. I'll try not to spoil anything beyond that point. This is the first time Anime Uproar is doing a video about One Piece, so give it a thumbs up if you guys want to see more videos like this one in the future. If we can get 1,000 likes, I'll do a part 2, since there are too many examples of questionable censoring to fit it all into one video. And we may even do the same style of video for other 4Kids dubs if you guys are interested. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know the second we upload a new video. Now without further ado, let's get back into it. The Fox Network made a deal with 4Kids Entertainment on January 22nd, 2005, and as a result 4Kids took over the 5-hour Saturday morning time slot. When I was a little kid, I used to love tuning into 4Kids TV on Saturday mornings. We're talking Sonic X, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaman King, and even One Piece. I'm not gonna lie, I loved watching these shows, and this was before I even knew the difference between cartoons and anime. I had no idea that these shows were from Japan at all. However, when I got a little older, I started to prefer watching Inuyasha on YTV or reading the Naruto manga, which my friend introduced me to. When I finally discovered Death Note online before they even finished dubbing it, I loved it, and it was the first time I watched anime with subs. I was only like 13 years old at the time, but I liked how mature these other anime were, and everything on 4Kids, including One Piece, just started to seem more and more childish to the point I just didn't want to watch them anymore. Little did I know at the time, it wasn't One Piece that was childish, it was the 4Kids version of One Piece that was childish, and it would take me over a decade to figure that out. What I was watching was a heavily westernized, watered down version of One Piece that was specifically targeting 4Kids' lucrative 6 to 11 year old demographic, while in Japan, One Piece was for everyone. It scored consistently high ratings with kids, teens, and even adults. And this is one of the major discrepancies that would result in some of the most infamous moments of censorship in anime history. Now let's look at 10 changes 4Kids felt like they had to make for their targeted demographic and what those changes do to One Piece. Number 1. The music. Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum. The English intro gets a mixed response. Some people hate it, and many fans expected 4Kids to use an English version of the original intro song, We Are. In the spirit of the Pokemon rap, the intro consists of the famous Yayo Yayo chorus and multiple rap verses that talk about how Sanji is cooking and Chopper is doctoring. To be honest, I liked this intro when I was a kid, and it is still nostalgic for a lot of people, although it definitely has a completely different feel compared to the original. Although, it is fun hearing Brock from Pokemon narrate the beginning. There once was a man named Gold Roger. And I like that he says Gold Roger left his treasure in one piece rather than in one place, because I think it ties well to the title of the show. However, the bigger issue in my opinion rests with the rest of the music used for this show. They replaced the original symphonic score with synthesized music that was sometimes reused from other 4Kids dubs. Sometimes they don't even have music, which is problematic, especially during emotional moments. If we take an anime like Clannad, the music is part of the whole. It makes the show what it is. I cannot imagine Clannad without the amazing soundtrack. In my view, the music is just as important to the overall experience as is the animation, so I just can't get behind switching it with reused, untailored music, or just removing it altogether. Anyways, don't give it up, Zolo. One Piece is my city. Moving on to number 2, Westernization. There are many instances of 4Kids trying to make the show appeal to Western audiences. One that stands out to me is the instance with the rice balls. Zoro has surrendered himself to the Marines in order to save a girl and her mother. Zoro is tied up in the scorching sun and left to starve. The little girl he has saved sneaks in and brings him some rice balls. However, apparently rice balls are too foreign. 4Kids felt it was necessary to replace the rice balls with chocolate chip cookies. They also felt it was necessary to change the Marines into the Navy. In my opinion, these are completely unnecessary changes. Then, we get to Buggy's black crewmate. Some people feel that there are black characters in anime that are depicted in a racist style of caricature, including Mr. Popo from DBZ, Jinx from Pokemon, and this member from Buggy's crew. To be honest, I don't have a problem with how 4Kids gave this character white skin. The history of racism in the West explains why 4Kids didn't want to risk offending anyone. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section below. Personally, I'm just glad they didn't make him blue. Number 3, no smoking. And finally we get to the lollipop. I purposely picked this for the thumbnail because for me, this image of Sanji holding the lollipop is the face of 4Kids censorship. There's so much to say about the infamous lollipop. First of all, Sanji is supposed to be cool and his cigarette helped get this across. Many of the coolest anime characters of all time smoke, including Spike from Cowboy Bebop and Onizuka from GTO. If we look at an anime like Honey and Clover, mature characters and characters who want to be seen as more mature smoke. In anime, smoking tells us something about the character. Maybe it's saying that he's mature or self-destructive or that he just doesn't care. The point is, for the creator, there is a reason that a character is smoking. They're trying to get something across. That being said, I get that they cannot have such a cool character that young kids will want to model themselves after, constantly smoking. Since the show was on at such an early time and their targeted audience was so young, they couldn't have gotten away with leaving the cigarette in there. But if they're gonna go through with the show anyway, at least make it a toothpick or something less childish. Why would they have one of the coolest characters in the anime, a 19-year-old dude at this point, constantly sucking on a lollipop? They also edited out cigars for other characters like Crocodile and Smoker, who by the way was renamed to Chaser, and his power was changed from smoke to steam. Number 4, no drinking. Just like 4Kids went out of their way to avoid any reference to smoking, they did the same with drinking. If there's one thing we know about pirates, it's how much they love their alcohol, and especially their rum. But 4Kids couldn't just not mention alcohol. They had to specify that every beverage was something else, something non-alcoholic, to the point where it was pretty jarring. Not only do they change the color of Captain Buggy's alcohol, they also make him say it's grapefruit punch.
It's a special recipe, grapefruit punch.
At the Gold Roger bar, Smoker, or perhaps I should say Chaser, orders juice instead of alcohol. And since we're dealing with pirates, and alcohol is a daily part of a pirate's life, especially Zoro's, this results in many instances of censorship where the color of the beverage is changed, and characters are often pointing out that this is in fact juice, I'm about to drink juice, and that was some good juice. I think you can start to see how this can get annoying. Number 5, no suggestive content. It seems like there's a big difference between Japanese culture and American culture in regards to what constitutes inappropriate content for children's television programs. You can see this in other children's shows like Dragon Ball. I mean, you can't just show polka dotted underwear to Western children. That would be indecent. Just make them a pure and proper pink. Yeah, that's good. As you can see, the changes always made perfect sense. You can even see the difference in Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The American version adds clothing and or minimizes any cleavage that is shown. So no one should be surprised to find out that 4Kids made similar changes to One Piece. The mangaka for One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, shared his opinion on fanservice many times in the Question Corner, where Oda answers his readers' questions in between chapters in the One Piece volumes. To make a long story short, he is unapologetic when it comes to the fan service in One Piece, and he feels that any healthy boy or man should not be scolded or made to feel ashamed for his interest in the female body. As a result, the female characters in One Piece are not afraid to show some skin, especially the 28-year-old Nico Robin. 4Kids, however, thought different, so they added clothing and removed any cleavage. Number 6. No Christianity. For some reason, 4Kids felt like they had to remove anything even vaguely reminiscent of Christianity. So devil fruit became cursed fruit. Kind of like how Satan from Dragon Ball Z became Hercule. However, some of this censorship definitely goes too far. For instance, I guess 4Kids thought that the logs that Zoro is tied to in the Marine base too closely resembled a cross, and so the top of the log was removed. Mihawk's sword and dagger were also changed for the same reason. However, what is perhaps the weirdest change is how they changed Miss Merry Christmas's name to Miss Groundhog's Day and recolored her Christmas tree necktie to be purple and red. I guess we should just consider ourselves lucky that they didn't turn Chopper the blue-nosed reindeer into a groundhog as well. Number 7. No real guns. Probably some of the most bizarre instances of censorship revolved around guns. One Piece is a world filled with pirates, and pirates have guns. The Marines have guns to stop the pirates who have guns. My point is, guns are prevalent in One Piece, and their presence makes for some of the most intense moments in the entire show. So how did 4Kids go about dealing with this one? Well, in many cases, let's just say their censorship backfired. In the process of censoring the guns, they robbed significant moments of their intensity, and sometimes the result was downright comedic. Let's start by comparing the Marines to the Navy. You should be somewhat intimidated by the Marines because they're pointing guns at our protagonists and sometimes at the viewer. In contrast, the Navy are pointing what appear to be water guns. Yes, you heard me right, water guns. What are water guns gonna do? So much for the gravity of the situation. If the stakes just went from oh my god they might be shot dead to oh my god they might get wet, the true intended reaction, Oda's intended reaction, is definitely not coming across. But then, 4Kids contradict themselves and have the water guns actually fire bullets. So what was the point of making them look like water guns? If anything, it's even more problematic that the Navy disguised real guns as children's toys. In another instance, Captain Morgan's son is holding a gun to Kobe's head. In what must be one of the most bizarre decisions in censorship history, 4Kids changes the gun into this weird contraption that looks kind of like a rubber hammer on a spring. It's hilarious, and it definitely doesn't look like it could hurt Kobe at all. It's also funny how they kept the gun's handle exactly the same. Now, before we move on, let's look at a gun-related incident involving Shanks. An overconfident pirate draws a gun at Shanks. Shanks calmly points to the gun and tells him that those things aren't for threatening. A second later, we see a gun go off, and then we see that it was shot by Shanks' own crew member who shot the arrogant pirate in the head. Someone should have told this guy,
"When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk."
What follows is an intense moment of silence. We get a shot of Shanks' serious expression, and we see the man fall dead to every bystander's shock. Now let's compare this to the 4Kids version. The same pirate aims a gun at Shanks' head, except this one clearly has a cork in it. The lesson about not threatening people with guns is absent. Instead, Shanks tells him that these weapons, i.e. the cork gun, misfire at such close range. First off, WTF, but let's continue. Then Shanks says that he admits they can still give quite a scare. So we have a dangerous, inexperienced pirate who loses an arm like it was nothing, saying that a cork gun can be scary. This is followed by his crew member pulling the trigger and the man falls like in the original. In this version, however, when we get a shot of Shanks' serious expression, he's heard snickering, and as the pirate falls down, he says,
"When he wakes up, someone tell him it was a cap gun."
So that serious moment, that intense silence that was imbued with so much meaning and gravity is totally offset. Instead of a death, we got a guy fainting from a cap gun. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, a guy says,
"He was alright home."
Oh man, that is bad. This scene really illustrates how much is lost in the 4Kids translation, how mature themes and moments become bad jokes. As a result, the 4Kids version seems less like a faithful translation and more like a parody of the original.
Stop whining, landlubbers. You're not dealing with saints here.
Alright, I think we spent enough time on this scene. Moving on. Number 8. Minimizing violence. Another thing that 4Kids did regularly was edit violent scenes that they felt were too graphic or problematic in some other way. We can see this throughout the show. For example, when Zoro gets stabbed by Buggy, or when Luffy uses his sweat to fight Crocodile rather than his blood. However, one of the most interesting and ridiculous examples of censorship can be found in episode 1, when Kobe starts freaking out and telling Luffy that there is no way he can be the Pirate King. Luffy not only sees Kobe acting like a wimp, but he has to listen to someone tell him that his life's ambition, that of reaching One Piece and becoming the Pirate King, is impossible. Luffy can't take it anymore and punches Kobe in the head. When Kobe asks why he did it, Luffy says, "Just because." However, through this act of violence, we can see just how much Luffy's dream means to him. Although he seemed like a pretty carefree guy up to this point, and remember, this is the first episode, so we're still getting to know what kind of character our protagonist is. This act of violence shows Luffy's determination and how he won't let anyone get in the way of his dream. It shows us just how much he does care when it comes to becoming the Pirate King. This is a great instance of characterization, but it's completely lost in the 4Kids version. In this version, they edit away Luffy's hand. Kobe thinks that Luffy is going to hit him, so he ducks. And this Luffy clone says,
"I wasn't going to hit you." Oh.
So what happens is that this character does the exact opposite of what the original Luffy does. So the question at this point is, can we even consider these guys to be the same person? At what point is Luffy no longer Luffy? This is just one example, but it's emblematic of a larger problem. Through censorship, 4Kids slowly but surely changes these characters to the point where they're almost unrecognizable, and believe it or not, it gets worse. Number 9. No deaths. The decision to not include important deaths not only alters the tone of the show, it also creates unresolved issues. For instance, Bellamir's death is one of the most emotionally charged moments in One Piece. No lie, I just rewatched a section of this scene for the video and my eyes are literally watering and goosebumps are in overdrive. How Bellamir cannot say that she doesn't have a family even if it costs her her life. That last "I love you" before she dies. The death is as sad as Bellamir's love for her adopted daughters is beautiful. Not to mention that such a charged moment plays a major role in Nami's characterization, and the fact that she joins the Arlong Pirates after that takes on even greater significance. However, this, one of the saddest and most beautiful scenes, is all lost in the 4Kids version. In this version, Captain Arlong simply points at Bellamir and offers her a nice room in a dungeon. The emotionally charged farewell is gone. The major event that shaped Nami into who she is gone. Bellamir has been captured, which creates another huge issue. In the diegesis or fictional world that is created by the 4Kids dub, Bellamir is alive and ready to be rescued from prison after the Straw Hats defeat Arlong. But they obviously never do rescue her, because that never actually happens in the original. She's dead after all. And 4Kids doesn't address this. Nami is transformed from being a loving, heartbroken daughter into someone who would forget to rescue her mother from prison. These kinds of changes are all the more painful to watch because Oda is such a good writer. Everything has a purpose and everything is intertwined. And this issue will be all the more apparent as we address Number 10. The skipping of important arcs and the creation of plot holes. Now let's turn to Game of Thrones for a second. George R.R. Martin has not finished his book series, and the show will most likely finish before the series does. However, George R.R. Martin has a say in how the show is run and communicates with the creators. He has let them know how the series is going to end and is present to make sure that discrepancies or plot holes are not created, because as the creator, he knows what can be left out and what absolutely cannot be left out. He knows what can be added and what addition would jeopardize the continuity and integrity of the story. A major issue with the 4Kids One Piece dub is that there is no communication between Oda and the producers at 4Kids. As a result, they should have followed the Japanese anime as closely as possible to avoid any issues. If they really wanted to skip some stuff, they could have done the research, read the manga, and tried to avoid filler or anime-only episodes. However, they took it upon themselves, without knowing what Oda was planning for the future, to take out episodes that were canon, episodes that were directly taken from the manga. Among other episodes, the Reverse Mountain arc and Little Garden arc were removed. For the purposes of this video, let's focus on the Reverse Mountain arc. Laboon, whose story is packed with more feels than a Lassie film, was reincarnated into an iceberg that was then destroyed by Luffy. Even though it didn't look like it was affected at all by the explosion, in the next frame it is completely gone without a trace. So in a few moments of bad editing, we just skipped over Laboon, Crocus, Vivi, the log post that they were supposed to acquire there, and more. Obviously this creates immediate plot holes, because in Whiskey Peak, changed to Misty Peak by the way, in the 4Kids version, Vivi was supposed to have already met the Straw Hats, and they're supposed to have a log post at this point. So instead, the log post conveniently drops out of Usopp's pocket,
Hey, what's that?
and Sanji conveniently remembers how to use it because Chef Zeph told him about it when they parted, but he just happened to forget until this moment.
Remember this. In order to sail the Grand Line, you'll need a compass.
They reuse old scenes to deliver this information as well. The problem with these kinds of changes is that they snowball over time, and the discrepancies become more and more glaring. If you've gotten far enough in One Piece, you know that there's also a very important purpose that Laboon serves down the line. Although there was perhaps no way for 4Kids to know this, they shouldn't have assumed that canon material could be taken out without any consequences. In a way, they are lucky that they only covered the first 143 Japanese episodes before they stopped, because as they went on, these issues would have only been exacerbated and become harder and harder to deal with. Eventually, after the fall of 4Kids, Funimation got a hold of the license for One Piece, and their dub is much better received than the 4Kids dub was. Funimation had the benefit of seeing how not to dub One Piece, and today, on online streaming websites, you can only find the Funimation version. Even the 4Kids DVDs are hard to come by, and some episodes weren't even released on DVD. It seemed like 4Kids One Piece was going to disappear forever until someone uploaded all of the episodes on the internet. Some people think it would have been better if that never happened. They wish that the 4Kids version would disappear completely. And I see where those people are coming from. There's no doubt about it, it's a bad dub, and it did give many people, including myself, the wrong idea about One Piece. Although it may resemble the original visually, this 4Kids show is not Eiichiro Oda's One Piece. It's something else entirely. However, personally, I'm glad that the 4Kids version wasn't lost to us forever. Now, if it was the only dubbed version, that would be a problem. But as things stand, I believe that this is an interesting historical artifact. For me, it is worth examining how companies like 4Kids attempt to bridge the gap between different cultures and age groups. I wouldn't believe some of the changes 4Kids made to One Piece if I hadn't seen them with my own eyes. The changes are bizarre, ridiculous, and unintentionally hilarious at times. It is so bad that it's funny. If you want to experience Oda's amazing world, then this is not the way to do it. But if you read or watched the original and just want to kick back and watch a hilariously bad translation, then you might even enjoy the 4Kids dub. And hey, some of you might have grown up on this version and it has nostalgic value for you, so you enjoy it for that reason. I'm not here to judge. But in the end, just keep in mind that this 4Kids version says a lot more about our own culture than it does about anything else. And that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks so much for watching until the end. If you're still here and want to show your support, drop a in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and like I said, if we reach 1,000 likes, I'll do a part 2 for you guys. If you haven't already subscribed, what are you doing, man? Hit that subscribe button for more fresh content, and until next time, see you, Space Cowboys.